Okay, so I'm just about to start making this slightly smaller wood burner potbelly stove for the back of the Land Rover for my trip. I'm making it out of the same cylinder, same type of cylinder that I made the original potbelly stove out of. It's a helium bloom gas bottle. This is something that was left over from my daughter's birthday party. And the cylinder is almost empty, so I'm going to share the manufacture of it from start to finish. I think these are what's called a Type D cylinder, which means that they are not recycled. So you are supposed to, when you finish with the gas cylinder, take it back to the place at which you bought it and they then dispose of it. But predominantly these cylinders are not recycled, they're not refilled and sold onto the public again. So I'm going to turn this one into my slightly smaller potbelly stove, wood burner, call it what you will, for my tour a bit. So that's the box that the cylinder comes in. Get them at most kind of supermarkets. Just going to leave that until it's stopped hissing and completely empty. Then I'll be taking the regulator off, the valve off, with a wrench. I'll be filling it up with water just to make sure there's no gas in it, and then I'll draw my design onto the cylinder. I'll start cutting it about and turning it into our wood burner that's going to go in the truck. Kind of rough design, which is exactly that. I think this thing is going to evolve as I make it. So before I start cutting, I'm just measuring this tape up just to make sure that it's kind of square, and just sort of check my measurements, and it seems to be you know, right within a couple of mils. So I'm going to zip that out now with an angle grinder. I'm going to use a 1 mil cutting disc on an angle grinder, and that's going to zip that out a treat. Obviously ear protection and eye protection. You know, if you get a metal splinter in your eye when you're doing a silly job like this, you're pretty much done. That means that you may not be able to drive. It may have quite serious implications. So ear defenders, I'm getting on a bit, my hearing's bad enough as it is, and always eye protection. Never use an angle grinder, anything like it, without putting some safety goggles on. Whenever you're messing around, you know, changing cutting discs or heads or blades on power tools, best thing to do is simply to unplug it. Right, I have got a tiny little workshop, but I've got probably all the tools you could possibly need. And the last one I've made, I literally made with a cordless drill, where instead of zipping this out with a cutting disc, what I did was I drilled a hole in each 4 corners once I've measured it out, and then cut it out with a jigsaw. You could even cut it out with a hacksaw blade, you know, by hand, but obviously that's all quite labour intensive. The point I'm trying to make really is that these are pretty simple things. It's probably going to take me a couple of hours, I would have thought, to knock up the basic structure of the thing, get it all rubbed down, hinges welded on, and get it sort of ready to work, so to speak. And then I'm going to light a fire in it to burn all the paint off, and then it will be kind of ready for paint. I'm using a black heat high sort of temperature engine paint to paint it black. I kind of like the idea of keeping it a bit like this, really. I like this as a sort of legs. Maybe I could level that out just a little bit more. Putting some sort of baking tray, just literally bolting a baking tray through the top, you know, so I've got a flat surface on which I could put maybe a kettle or something like that. The hole in the bottom is already there for sucking air in under the fire. Gonna drill a ring of holes around the bottom, and the same again around the top. This is our door. It's going to be our door. It goes up that way. Want to try to get it to close as as tidily as possible, but don't think that's going to be the end of the world. This is the reason you're going to use a kind of 1mm on a very small thin cutting disc, because obviously the more metal you lose around the edge of the cut, the less of a tight close you're going to get on it. But now we've got the sanding disc on, I'm just going to zip round all of these sharp edges, and the same on the door. Again, ear defenders and eye protection, get that done, and a bit more tape, hold it all together while we decide exactly where the hinges are going to go. I put a couple of bits of bar 4 feet of this out of a skip, and it had the bolts on it. They were stripping out some central heating, so just scrap that was in a skip, and I picked it up, brought it home, just chopped it off. So that very simply gives me a shelf should I want to use it as an oven. That's the reason that I put a shelf in it, so I can put whatever I want to bake, so a loaf of bread or a pie or whatever it is, and then put the whole thing on the fire, and it then becomes an oven. So once the whole thing is together, then what I'm going to do is spend a little bit of time with an angle grinder, just grinding all the welds down, making it nice and tidy. Then I'm going to light a fire in it, then I'm going to paint it black with type of paint they paint engine blocks with, so high temperature paint, and that will be ready to rock and roll. So that's my potbelly stove, slightly smaller one, to put in the back of the truck, take on my little road trip. That's something that I'm hoping I'm going to get finished today. So another couple of steps, and that'll be ready to put in the truck. For anyone that's interested, I bought the MIG Wolf 140. So all that means is it goes from 40 watts to 140 watts, and it will do most things for you. It will do steel, it will do aluminium. There are various weird and wonderfuls about kind of MIG welders, and I won't claim I'm an expert or that I know everything there is to know about it. I have been watching a site called weldingtipsandtricks.com, and the guy there is an established welder, you know, probably 20-30 years experience, and he's got a YouTube channel that he tries to teach people like me. So very simply, he'll set you an exercise, you go away, you do the exercise. When you think you've mastered that, you come back and you... Little projects like this, where I hopefully get to be, you know, fairly proficient, are the basis of how I intend to repair my own truck. So if and when it needs a little bit of body work doing, so I'm teaching myself how to weld on little projects like this with the Wolf 140, in hopes that when the truck does need some fairly extensive work, by then I'll have the ability to, if nothing else, you know, chop out the rot, put the new panel, just tack it in place, then take it somewhere to a professional welder, like where the paint was. That told me where to drill the holes. Now I'm going to do 4 little spot welds just to hold it on.